Want to see how I turn this boring space above my workbench into an awesome YouTube background? Stick around. Welcome back to Rye Guy Woodworks. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to tackle a project that is like so YouTuber, right? I need a nice background for portions of videos just like this, the talking head portions of the videos, as Michael Alm likes to call it. So just some place where the wall has got a nice coating and the lighting is good and I can put the camera in front of it, say a few things to you and then move on, right? And so I think this is the right space. This is my workbench. Right behind my workbench, eventually I'll have some upper cabinets here, but until then, I think it'll be a perfect space for us to have our little fireside chats, right? So if you want to see how it all comes together, man, stick around. We're gonna have some fun. So let's get to it. First thing we got to do is clean up this mess.
All right, with all that out of the way, it's time to get to business. First thing I'm going to do here is start to get some reference lines so I can get an idea of where that first row is going to go. So initially I'm just going to make a mark to see where the top of the bench top is. Once I know where that is, I know I want the first bottom row to start just below that. I don't want the bottom of the vinyl planks to be seen. I want it to look like it may have started on the floor and just came all the way up. And then once I get a good reference to where the bottom of, the top of the bench top should be, then I will make an even line where I want the bottom row of the vinyl plank to be. So my bench top was 48 inches wide, and so I made sure that we're working with 48 inches and then marked both edges. So now I have the beginning, ending marks on the sides and the bottom line. So I think I'm just going to clean that up, make sure we're all the way to the edge, and then we're ready to start adding planks. So here's the plan. Basically, I'm just going to make it look random. That's the goal. We'll see if it works. So this is the vinyl plank I'll be using. It is 36 inches long, 6 inches wide with adhesive. And that adhesive will be the bane of my existence, at least for the first row. You really do want to take your time and get this first row right. If you get this row wrong, all the subsequent rows are going to be wrong too. So I made some extra lines. I took a little extra time, got it nice and straight. In case you missed that, the piece of tape on the bottom had like 3 or 4 separate cuts, and so it did not tear cleanly off. I had to dig it off. It was not fun. So here I'm just using a square and a ruler to make sure that I get the pieces exactly the length that I need them to make these 48-inch rows from 36-inch pieces, and also to keep them random. And so I'm using the square to keep a nice straight line, and I'm using the knife along it to get a good clean cut. It worked pretty good. Up and up and up we go.
All right, I think that's looking pretty good, but it's not quite finished yet. Got to do something about those edges.
First things first, I need to take some measurements so I can see how long these pieces need to be. So I've decided to just trim this section with the same matching hardwood as I used when I created my bench top. So that's going to be red oak. First things first, cut it to length. Now we round over the edges. That guy's ready. So I figured it would be easier to go ahead and round over these edges now before I made the cuts, because once I made the cuts they're going to be a little bit smaller strips, and I thought it might be trickier to get the roundovers on it. Now let's go ahead and get the table saw set up for these long rip cuts. So the width here is really arbitrary, but I just chose something that exactly matched the width of the pieces that I chose around my desktop. Initial test fit, things are starting to look pretty good. Rounding over those other edges. The last of the roundovers. So I'll be using my thickness planer to bring these pieces down. They just seemed a bit too chunky right off the bat for how thin they were, so I wanted to bring them down, make them a little bit thinner. Well, a lot of bit thinner. So because I did so much planing on these, I actually got a lot of black schmutz, whatever you want to call it, all over these things. So I have to sand it just to clean them up and make sure that they're nice and ready to go up on the wall. We're going to go ahead and get some double-backed adhesive tape to the back of these pieces so I can get them stuck up on the wall. That's it. You just peel it and you stick it.
All right, there we go. Another project in the books. I think it came out pretty good. It kind of looks like vinyl plank stuck to the wall, but honestly, I think it'll probably do just fine for the purposes I have. So I'm pretty excited that I did it. Hope you guys learned something. So that'll be it for this episode. Stay tuned for future episodes. I got a lot of really cool stuff on the horizon, and I hope you'll join me. So we'll see you then.